we have, which I know players are super excited for, extended crafting rules, and we have a lot of magical items. Can you tell me a little bit about that chapter?
Well, let's see. Where do we start? How about the beginning? At the beginning of the chapter, we talk about treasure themes, which we can get into, and then we spell out the different kinds of treasure, from coins to trade goods to trade bars, which is new to this book, to art objects, gemstones, and magic items. Yes, there are a ton of magic items, including a bunch of new ones, Todd.
I know, I'm excited for that. And there's a lot of art, by the way.
Yes. And as folks are beginning to discover, there is some magic item crafting rules in the Player's Handbook 2024. You can craft simple items like potions and scrolls using the rules in that book. What we did in the DMG is we expanded upon that and gave you the rules for crafting everything else.
And it's really pretty straightforward. It works the same as the crafting of regular items, non-magical items that's in the Player's Handbook. Uses your tool proficiencies and your arcana proficiency and the spells you know to help you make the items you want.
Yeah. So first of all, as James said, you need to have the arcana skill to make magic items. Then, once you've decided what item you need to make, you have to have the appropriate tool for the job. And so if you are going to make a wand of magic missile, you need wood carver's tools, which makes a lot of sense. But that's not all that you need, because if a magic item allows you to cast a spell through the item, like a wand of magic missiles, you also have to have the magic missile spell.
Yeah, logical.
Yeah. And then, of course, you need gold and you need time.
And what are there additional rules? Like, are there difficulty ratings for how to do this? Like, how did this go?
Yeah, so depending on the rarity of the item you want to create, it can cost you more gold or more time.
The gold cost is an assumption about the raw materials you need to make the item. And it's possible that if you're in a podunk town somewhere, they don't have those raw materials available. A bigger city, you're more likely to find them. I personally would rule that if you're in a place like the city of Brass or the city of Sigil. I wanted to say Sigil, and I caught myself. The city of Doors.
Nice.
Seagal.
That those items, those raw materials are going to be readily available.
Perfect. Yeah. So if you're a wizard, it behooves you to be maybe sometimes near town.
Yes, and one of the reasons why these rules are in the Dungeon Master's Guide instead of the Player's Handbook with the other magic item crafting rules is because this is unlocked by the Dungeon Master. The Dungeon Master determines whether or not the materials are available, whether or not the characters can build these items.
And to your point, like, you know, the magical item tools are broken down from like armor, potions, ring, rod, scroll, staff, wand, weapon, wondrous items. You outline what those tools need to be.
Yes.
And then on top of everything else, you may need assistance, or assistance can at least help.
Assistance can help.
Yeah.
The time required to make an item is basically person hours, so more people means fewer hours.
Which again can help, you know, if you have a bastion and you've got hirelings, this all kind of ties together.
It does tie together. Some of the bastion facilities in the Bastions chapter specifically interact with crafting certain kinds of items as well.
Why is crafting so exciting for people as a player? Why is this such an aspirational thing? Does everyone want to be Sauron?
So I think there's at least two things going on.
Yeah.
Maybe three. So one is finding treasure in your adventures is exciting. Finding gold is exciting, and finding magic items is super exciting. When you find magic items, it's always at the whim of the Dungeon Master. You find what the DM decides you find. And when you find gold, that's exciting until you start saying, okay, I have so much gold, what am I going to do with it? So crafting answers that question and lets you say, I'm going to make my own item, not just whatever the DM decides I'm going to find. The second piece of it, I guess, is really that I'm taking control. I'm going to make something that I want. And the third is that there's the potential, at least, for putting your own distinctive mark on it. You know, I'm making a staff of power, but this is what mine is going to look like. I get to decide that.
And the guidelines, that helps me as a player, you know, especially a player who owns the Dungeon Master's Guide. It has me something to look at, like a target. Like, yeah, I might be at level 1, But if I have the Dungeon Master's Guide myself, I can look at like something like bastions or crafting magical items and kind of dream one day, maybe I can make this thing.
Yep.
Are you capable of crafting just about anything from the Dungeon Master's Guide?
With one notable exception that comes to mind, and that's artifacts.
Yeah, right.
They are beyond the ability of characters or most mortals in the world to craft. The secrets of their creation are lost to the untold ages. And so the DM still has that to hold back.
So you can't actually be Sauron,
Right.
because the One Ring is clearly an artifact.
Well, I think in most campaigns you want the DM to be Sauron, not the player.
Yes.
Right. I feel like magic items can often be such great plot hooks as well, whether it's an artifact or something else. I love to give them something they shouldn't have, like the Wand of Orcus. And they're being hunted. They can't use it. And everyone else they know wants it. And they're just trying to get through the day.
Right. Yes. And with things like that, the DM can build in contrivances so that it's a limited use or limited time that the characters can enjoy this sudden power-up, where they're, in the case of the Wand of Orcus, creating basically armies of undead. You have the hook of Orcus can recall the wand, and suddenly they're deprived of this great toy that they have. But for the time they have it, oh, what a fun thrill.
They're trying not to use it, Chris. I think the beauty of magic items in D&D is that they really cover the whole gamut, from the Wand of Orcus to a Ring of Protection, where the really simple items that you write down on your character sheet and maybe adjust some numbers on your character sheet and you never have to think of again are fine and great. Sort of like feats. There's some feats that you build your character around, and others you just want to write down and forget about.
Yeah.
And magic items are the same way. And you're never going to define your character around the Ring of Protection, but the Staff of Power, oh yeah, that's really aspirational. That's something that's going to change the way you play your character, give you access to a whole bunch of things you couldn't do before, and be much more central. And it's good that range exists.
Yeah.
For different kinds of players, for different styles of campaigns, just for the amount of magic items. You can be as Monty Hall as you want if you're giving out a bunch of things that are consumable or that don't have a big impact on the story, but save the items that really change your character as rarer seasoning.
And for those young viewers that don't know who Monty Hall is, it's just giving away just too many prizes. Or it's like Oprah, look under your seats. It's just you hand your players a lot of power. And then you may regret a little bit of that later on.
Yes. Well, good news, Todd, for you.
Yeah.
We put in a tracking sheet so that you can keep track of how many magic items you have dispensed as a DM in your campaign, and know with good heart that you can go to bed and sleep well at night, that you haven't overloaded or underloaded your characters.
Or know that you have, and then stay awake all night.
Yes, plotting how to deprive them of their newfound goods.
Again, it's fantastic.
Shipwreck.
Yeah, shipwreck. Also for the magical items, we have a special features list, which I love, which you kind of talk about, who made this? Like, it doesn't just have to be a +1 longsword. It can be
Bob the Elf's +1 longsword passed down through generations.
Who?
Bob the Elf.
Oh, Bob. I think it's a Bibli elf. I'm like, I don't know who this man is.
Yes.
So the singer.
The creator of your item might be an aberration. It might be a celestial. It might be a dragon, a dwarf, some elemental being, a fae, a fiend, a giant, a gnome, some undead horror.
And then we have a history. We also have, you can make a die roll and determine if this is part of a prophecy, if this is part of religion, if it's sinister, if it's a symbol of power. And then you can add minor properties.
Yeah, I had a whole conversation with my daughter's girlfriend about this. She was saying, +1 sword is so boring. It's like a fighter named Bob, and that's exactly right. It's like what makes one fighter different from another is the personality they put onto it. What makes one +1 sword different from another are these tables, which she didn't realize were in the 2014 DMG, but are here as well, and can just make even those items that don't have a big story impact on your character more flavorful and interesting.
Yeah, these minor properties are really cool. Like, they can be a beacon, so you have a bonus action and you can add dim light to this thing. It's a natural compass, or It's a delver, it's a guardian, it's harmonious, it's a key, it's a secret message, it's a sentinel. Like, this is all flavor you give to the most mundane magical item.
That table is also secretly a common magic item generator, because an item that does just one of those things and nothing else could easily be a common magic item.
And then you have the minor properties. You've got like strange material, songcraft, temperate, unbreakable, war leader, and all of this. And then you've got quirks too. I love all these tables because you can instantly make just the weirdest magical item.
Yes.
My
favorite quirk is the loud quirk. The item makes a loud noise such as a clang, a shout, or a resonating gong when used. I want the Warhammer with the loud property. The loud quirk.
When you miss, it goes wah, wah, wah.
I want a venomous dagger, perfect for an assassin. The dagger of venom, and then it's loud. Is clang! Like, they don't even know until the first time they use it.
Yes. And the tables, hopefully, clever DMs will be able to riff on them and come up with their own quirks. Like, we've got the loud covered, but what about the sinister whispering item?
Yeah.
That's not in here, but that's something that a DM could play with. Like the dagger that when you stab somebody, it says, you.
We'll bleep that out.
So, like, you got me riffing on the dagger of venom. So it's like activating the dagger of venom is when you coat it with poison.
Yeah.
And so imagine that hissing as the venom
Yeah.
spreads along the blade. That's cool.
I like repulsive. Like, it's just like a tentacle that you have to hold on to. That's the hilt, and it's always moving. Like something you're like, oh man, I don't really. I hate this longsword.
But it's so good.
Squirmy.
It makes me really uncomfortable. We've got a very extensive artifacts section. What makes artifacts different? And you've got tables for beneficial properties like the 4 major ones, minor ones, and major detrimental properties.
Yeah, artifacts are as powerful as magic items can get, and in most cases, artifacts are unique. Not always. A DM can have artifacts that aren't unique, but they're so distinctive that their names alone suggest their uniqueness or their power. You know, the Wand of Orcus, Black Razor, this spooky, starry night sword, the Eye of Vecna. You know, they almost beg you to learn more about the story of their creation and what they can do and who made them and why. The artifacts have these stories kind of baked into them so that you understand why someone set out to create something of such power. And then the other distinctive thing about artifacts is they have many layered abilities, from minor properties to things that only the most powerful spells in the game can duplicate.
And that randomness goes all the way back to the beginning of the game, where the idea was basically, yes, the Wand of Orcus has these properties. It does this list of things in Orcus's hands. That's what it's made to do. But when somebody else gets it, it starts misbehaving. It might have clear negative effects on the person trying to wield it because it wasn't made to be wielded by that person. It was made to be wielded by Orcus. And it might do random cool things as well.
Some of these are just classics. You know, when you become attuned to the artifact, you take 8d10 psychic damage, and the artifact imprisons the death slot. There's a 10% chance of it escaping the item every time you use it. That stuff I love. I'm looking at the negatives a lot.
I noticed that.
I wonder why that is, Todd.
Yeah, I mean, there are great beneficial traits too.
Yeah, just like if you're attuned to the artifact, your speed is increased by 10. Who doesn't love that?
Or you regain hit points faster. Or,
yeah.
While attuned, you can actually cast a spell you couldn't cast without the item.
When you're attuned to the artifact, other creatures can't take a short or long rest while within 300 feet of you. That's a detrimental property.
I guess that means you snore really loud. I don't know.
Or the artifact snores really loud. Like the Wand of Orcus is just like
go.
this hellish grinding chainsaw.
I love it.
Yeah, that could be a lot of fun. And this is kind of my favorite thing that I grew up with. Sentient magical items. I find that charming to have, like, there's this NPC living in your sword, and you may not agree with it, right? Like, you've got a bunch of qualities here, for sentient weapons.
Yes. When you decide that an item, and it doesn't have to be a weapon.
Yeah.
You could have a sentient crystal ball. You could have a sentient pair of boots. That would be weird, but you could do it.
Yeah.
Don't tread on me.
But
They can only talk when your feet aren't in it.
yes. But the things you... I'm trying to have a conversation here. There are several important things you need to decide when you're going to make an item sentient. You have to know what the item's alignment is, because that will help you get a sense of its personality and how you're going to role play it. You need to know how the item communicates. Does it communicate telepathy, or can it actually speak out loud? And what senses does it have? How much awareness of its environment does it have? And then does it have any special purpose that it was created for, that it basically drives its own agenda toward? And on top of that, the items also have mental ability scores: intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. The reason those scores are important, and this was true in 2014, is because if a conflict occurs between the wielder or owner of the item and the sentient item, there could be a battle of wills that plays out. And how easy is it to get the item on your side and to persuade it not to push its own agenda ahead of yours? It makes for a fun little character moment as it's screaming, as your character is yelling at the sword while the other characters kind of look on awkwardly.
Especially if it's only telepathic, yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Everything going on okay, Bob?
Yes. But when a conflict occurs, the item's bearer has to make a charisma saving throw. On a failed save, the item makes demands that either the bearer complies with, or the item can become kind of misbehave a little bit.
Yeah.
And the demands might be the item wants you to do whatever the item wants. Whatever dream the item has, you have to basically help fulfill its dreams.
Like it's like a glory seeker, a lore seeker, a protector, a soulmate seeker.
Or the item could be, it's time for us to spend some time apart.
It's not me, it's you.
Yeah, when your magic item breaks up with you.
You need to help me find a new and more worthy possessor.
Yeah.
And, tough times.
Excalibur is like, no.
Pass.
Sorry.
Who gave me to you?
This isn't right. I love that stuff. And now we have so much magical item art. There's a lot of new magical items. We always had a lot of magical items in D&D, but I'm really excited being able to kind of see some of these re-realized. I really like the Bag of Devouring winky face.
Yeah. We made a list near the beginning of this process of the items that weren't illustrated that we wanted to be illustrated, and items where we thought we could do maybe a more on-point illustration, or show the item in a different light or a different way.
Right.
To show, for instance, with weapons, make sure that we're kind of showing a more diverse array of weapons than we did in the 2014 DMG. So there was a lot of upfront conversations about, okay, how much more art can we squeeze in, and then what should those pieces be? I was glad this time around that we illustrated a bunch of potions.
Yes.
Because there weren't hardly any potion illustrations in the 2014 book, and we got so many beautiful ones, including one for a new magic item called the Potion of Pugilism. It's green as spinach.
Yeah.
For the kids out there, that's a Popeye reference.
I'm strong to the finish because I eat my spinach.
See, that was free.
There's some, I love the charlatan die with the rat standing over it.
Yes, the pirate rat.
Oh, the pirate rat.
The pirate rat.
Oh my gosh.
So charming. It makes some of these magical items like the hat of vermin. We have this lovely toad sticking out of this.
Yes.
Very
the rat of
grimy
vermin was in Xanathar's guide. We picked that up along with a bunch of other common items and put them in here, because one of the other things we knew from the 2014 book is that we didn't have a lot of common items.
Yeah.
And so to give that rarity its due, we pulled a bunch of the Xanathar's Guide to Everything items into here, and then created a few new ones as well.
We do have, playing new magical items, playing a warlock, love the Cauldron of Rebirth.
Yes.
I love the creepiness of a warlock being able to resurrect anyone with a raise dead spell.
One of my favorite things about this chapter is we were able to shoehorn in descriptions of all of the magic items that were from the animated cartoon in the 80s that hadn't already appeared in the book. Sheila's Cloak of Invisibility was in the book already.
Yeah, but now we got Hank's energy bow.
Exactly. Yeah. And we've got an Illo of Hank aged up a little using that bow. We've got an Illo of Presto aged up a little using his Hat of Many Spells. And getting as many iconic characters into the 2024 books has been a goal of ours from the very beginning. What that does is it helps folks who are new to the game get a sense of the legacy of the game and that these fantastic characters are out there and they exist in the worlds of D&D.
I don't remember Haggai being in there. I like Haggai quite a bit.
The Haggai is an example of a magic item that used to live in the monster manual and didn't belong there.
Okay.
It was in the Hag entry. So we put it in among the magic items where it belongs.
Oh, perfect, yeah.
Funny thing about the Haggai is that the illustration we used for it appeared, I think, in the index of the 2014 Dungeon Master's Guide. It was commissioned originally as the Medallion of ESP. It's too creepy to be a Medallion of ESP because it looks like an eye.
Yes.
And so I remember sending a picture to Wes Schneider and saying, could this be the Haggai? He's like, yes. So it is now the Haggai.
Well, it's nice seeing like the lantern revealing realized and the javelin of lightning. And this is all aspirational content for a player. This is you're not shopping for these magical items really, but though you do give prices on a lot of these.
The treasure chapter talks about what items cost.
Yeah.
When you're buying or selling them, assuming the DM says they're available and that there's somebody willing to buy it. So there's, now what all the costs of the items are. Now that information was actually in the 2014 DMG as well. We've just done a better job of surfacing it. The other thing that's important to point out is that all the items that we picked up from the 2014 DMG, every one of them has been revised in some way,
right?
To make it more fun at the table or easier to use at the table, or some combination of the two. So no stone was left unturned. Every item got the hairy eyeball, and
especially the Haggai.
Especially the Haggai,
yeah.
Yes.
There's one other sort of weird in the weeds thing. Chris was mentioning in the art, making sure that more weapon types were represented. But in the rules of the magic items as well, there are a bunch of magic weapons that used to be any sword. And the rules of the game actually never told you what a sword is. Is a scimitar a sword or not?
Right.
So that now, all those items now say a specific list of items that is longer than you might expect it to be. So now you could have a glaive of sharpness, not just a longsword or something else like that.
Yeah.
So any weapon that is basically sword-like, we just listed them.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out, James. And like you say, wherever possible, we tried to broaden it so that the magic item could apply to more things than it used to.
Yeah, in some cases,
like ammunition
just say
is a big
any
one.
weapon.
Yeah.
Not everyone is wants to shoot an arrow of dragon slaying. They may have a bullet of dragon slaying.
Exactly. And so, in a way, we've actually crammed a lot more magic items into the book than it appears by virtue of that change alone.
Yeah, by removing those limitations. God, it is a lot of magical items. It's not like I love seeing this Orb of Dragon kind art. It just kind of like sets your imagination off. And again, like what you said about the potions, they all have such a interesting environment inside of them.
Yes.
Like the potion of fire breathing just looks like a cinder cloud above a fire.
The potion of invisibility is also very much one of my favorites.
I know. There's nothing in it.
Sure there is.
There is something in it,
but
it's empty.
It. And if you shake it, it probably sloshes.
Yeah.
It does contain something. You just can't see what
it is.
It's
an easy perception check to figure out what that potion is.
Right, yes.
And a lot of these, really, theoretically.
Yes.
So now you have guidance for them.
One of my favorite new illos, I think, is for the Instrument of Illusions.
I have a thing about hurdy-gurdies.
Can confirm.
Of course you do.
So some random video showed up on my Facebook feed like several years ago of just this beautiful music coming out of this instrument. It's a pretty amazing instrument. And since then, I'm pretty sure the Instrument of Illusions is the second hurdy-gurdy that I've worked into D&D art.
All right, I don't want to just keep on talking about every piece of art. There's a ton of magical item art.
And the whole chapter is beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, Trish Yoakum is one of our great graphic designers who's worked with us for so long and done so much fabulous work, and she really outdid herself on this book.
Yeah.
It's just lovely to see. I hate the talking doll.
You hate the talking doll?
I don't hate the talking doll. It's super cute.
We tried not to make it super creepy or anything.
I know, that's my
We
instinct.
went out of our way to make it kind of cuddly and
Just
fun.
give it a big growly voice.
Yeah. But it is right next to the tentacle rod, and that's a little unnerving.
That doesn't help. And Bobby's Thunderous Great Club.
Yes.
Yeah. Wanda Polymorph is fantastic.
Some of this
much.
art was in the 2014 book. We've just
Yeah.
reframed it and kind of positioned it differently so that it feels fresh.
And then we have all those tables for like what you find when you find it and stuff like that.
Shall we talk just very briefly about the themes? Because they do
Sure.
relate to another book coming out.
Yeah. So the random magic items tables are grouped into 4 categories of items. There's arcana, implements, armaments, and relics. So in the monster manual, when that comes out early next year, every monster entry is going to have a treasure entry that indicates what kind of treasure a monster is likely to collect. So if you see arcana there, that tells you something about the kind of magic items you're going to find there. It also suggests maybe the monster has a lot of gems. When you figure out the monetary value of his treasure, that money might be in the form of gems, because arcana and gems go together. Whereas if you see relics in another one, that's a different set of tables of magic items and a different kind of, more likely to be art objects for their monetary value. It's just a way to help the DM make treasures more thematically flavorful for themselves and for the kind of monster that you find the
Help make
treasure
them
with.
feel like they make sense.
Yeah.
Yes. It's also helpful to the DM so that the DM can think about the different types of characters in the party. Like arcana items are generally going to be more useful to wizards, sorcerers, warlocks, whereas implements, which are very utilitarian, are probably going to benefit classes like rogues. And so as the DM is populating their adventures with treasure and magic items, or thinking about giving a magic item to a character, they can narrow down the list with the aid of these very helpful classifications, because armaments are fairly clearly weapons, shields, armor. Fighters are going to love them. Paladins are going to love them. Relics, druids and clerics are going to love them. It's just another way for the DM to sort of sift through the vast amount of magic items and winnow down to the ones that are actually going to be
Applicable to
Applicable.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
to that character.
And it's helpful too if you're creating a character at a higher level to play in a one-shot or to start a campaign at higher level, using the advice that's now in the player's handbook about how many magic items you start with. There's advice in here about one way to approach figuring out what those magic items are is to roll on the table that's for the category that's appropriate for that character.
That's going to be so helpful. Thank you so much for watching. Every week leading up to the brand new 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide, we'll have new videos and premieres telling you more about the book. To pre-order the 2024 Core Rulebooks digital physical bundle, click on the links in this video description and find out more about all the pre-order bonuses, including frames, backdrops, dice sets, digital dragon art book, and the digital golden dragon mini. I'm Todd Kenrick. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like, the subscribe button, and also the notification button so that you're alerted when we have brand new videos about the future of D&D.